I'm going to D.C. and Maryland. Tom, Robert, Tariq, Heath, Paul, Michael, Tim, John, Brian. I'm going to get to all of you. Toll-free number to join us, 877-789-ALEX, 877-789-2539. We are live. It is Sunday, the 22nd day of May, 2011. Wow, this year is almost halfway over. I'm still getting used to 2010. Okay, I just took a few calls if you joined us in that last little 5-minute segment that we do live that some stations don't carry. And we had a caller who asked the question as we went to break. He says he's a National Basketball League fan, or National Basketball Association fan, whatever it stands for. What's NBA stand for? I don't know enough about it to tell you. I'm not that cool, folks. I only know about the government secretly putting radioactive isotopes in your water on purpose. KHOU News in Texas. Texas government knowingly covered up radioactive drinking water. They say it goes all the way up to the governor's office. But again, I'm not trendy, so I don't know what NBA stands for. What's it stand for? I was right. Okay. He was bringing up to me that he gets approached now. This didn't happen years ago. By people during the national anthem. He puts his hand over his chest for not taking his hat off. And he said, what's my view of that? Well, it's a very complex issue. I'm actually glad you raised it, and then I'll go to the calls. I'm going to try to simply knock it out of the park here, to use a sports analogy. Always, as many great statesmen have pointed out, tyranny will come wrapped in your nation's flag. Tyranny will come wrapped in the German flag, the American flag. Tyrants always wrap themselves in the flag. And when you lose your real liberties and freedoms, what the country is founded on, what it stands for, this happens in every culture, people get more obsessed over the symbols, and those get honored, but not what the flag actually stands for. Bill of Rights, Constitution in the toilet, the courts more and more corrupt, cops all over the nation, in the news, pulling people over, taking cash out of their wallets, no judge, no jury, no arrest. All that gets ignored. Foreign banks looting us from tens of trillions. The veterans having their death benefits stolen, Bloomberg AP, trillions of dollars. Nobody gets in trouble. Secret 11-year deal with the federal government. But you bring it up to a good old boy at that basketball game and say, hey, let's get together and start a group against stealing veterans' death benefits. They pay into it when they die. Then the government does a fast one to let the insurance companies keep their death insurance, their life insurance. Oh, I don't want to talk about that. You're a weirdo. You're a weirdo. Hey, let's talk about defending our borders and the sovereignty of America. Oh, you're one of them extremists. But they'll walk over and, boy, you take your hat off when that anthem's going. I mean, it's a joke. And then they take all of this fake patriotism and attach it to all the other un-American things that are being done. Like torture got bin Laden. That's as American as apple pie. And if you don't like torture, you're with Al-Qaeda. When the country's founded on due process. And, I mean, if you have to explain to people that torture is evil and that a government that does it wants fake confessions and can't be trusted, that's why we're so lost, ladies and gentlemen. So, that's what's happening. It's part of the secret police, in-your-face attitude of America. America is a free country where you don't have to take your hat off or salute the flag, okay? In Nazi Germany, buddy, you better put your hand over your chest and you better take your hat off. You see, these are little fascists. They wouldn't defend the real republic. In fact, they think you're bad, most of them. But they're ready to have a fight with you. You know, I see these people who were so dumbed down. There was this woman today. I was in a hurry to get to work. I like to get here an hour before on the Sunday show, and I was about 45 minutes away, pretty close to, I was about 45 minutes away from showtime, and I was about 5 minutes away from here. And this woman pulled up on the access road, and she was sitting there with a entrance ramp. You see this all the time. And the entrance ramp had its own lane. A complete whole lane and no cars. And she was just sitting there scared like a deer in the headlights. And she finally pulled out, and there's 3 lanes there. So I get out, don't get on her tail, but go ahead and get over into the inside lane so I can go make a turn a few hundred yards up. And she got wild and tried to pull in front of me, and I let her. And then later I got on the highway when she was doing about 60 over here in the slow lane. I got in the fast lane, you know, hit about 70. She went crazy, gunned it, was driving up, trying to get in front of me, acting all crazy. Because that's her battle. That's her war. That's her power well, it's the same psychology you see with emails. People they'll say things in emails to their boss they wouldn't say in person. Or people who have anonymity will say horrible things on the web because they're keyboard commandos. Nobody knows who they are. But I'll guarantee you that woman wouldn't stand up and fight for liberty or freedom or her children's future. She would cower in fear. But she's tough when she's in that car. And again, I don't get into road rage. People can flip me off, whatever they want. I mean, I don't even give them a response. But I see people. Now, I said I'd go to your calls, didn't I? And I'm not. I am really digressing here today. Let's go ahead and go to D.C. in Maryland. D.C., you're on the air.
Hey, what's going on, Alex? Man, I could pick your brain for years, but I'm going to keep it real short and quick. Two things. First one's on topic. I feel like the whole Bin Laden thing and the whole birth certificate thing is so phony, just so we stay off subject and off what we need to be focused on. And it's really distracting us. I mean, it distracted this show for almost a week. And the other thing, you woke me up about 3 years ago, and I haven't heard anything, so I want to know if it's true or not, about the whole Titanic thing and J.P. Morgan, the steel company that built the Titanic, and how after it sunk, everybody that was against the Federal Reserve died, and it passed the next year.
That is actually true, that they used substandard steel, and that they were given the warning watch of the iceberg and still just ran right into it, and that a large portion of the U.S. elite that was not teamed up with the Bank of England, there's whole paper's been written on this, and I don't know if it's conclusive, but it definitely has a lot of the makings of sabotage, yes.
Right, and I never got to see the Discovery Channel piece, but I heard that there in 1985, Discovery Channel did a piece where they went down, say they found the Titanic, and they took a picture or a video clip or whatever of the hole that supposedly hit the iceberg, and they said the weird thing about it was the shrapnel was pointed outwards instead of pointed inwards, as if there was some type of explosion or something.
No, that's true. You can pull up the video online of it, and their argument was that the iceberg stuck into the steel, and kind of like a knife going through a steak. At the end of the cut, sometimes beef will flick out at the end and it'll kind of tear out. You know, if you're not cutting the steak right and you're sawing through it, it'll kind of tear up the meat on the edges. So that, again, I've seen some evidence of that. I've never talked about it because I can't prove it one way or the other, but I hope I answered your question, DC. Thank you. Do I have time to go to another caller here? Let's go to Tom in Minnesota. Tom, you're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, Alex?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I got what I think here is an info bomb for you. I know you and Webster Tarpley are often talking about Pakistan being used to pull us into a bigger war with Russia and China. I study Chinese, and as part of my studies, I get on the net and I watch Chinese TV news.
Yeah, they just sold 50 jets to them and said that they'll defend them if the U.S. attacks them. And the U.S. last Monday launched an attack with helicopters on a position inside Pakistan. And they've tried to frame Pakistan for the whole bin Laden thing. Of course, we told folks this was coming months before it happened. Now they're releasing info that 9/11 was run by the Iranians to frame them. First it was Iraq, Afghanistan. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, this is a little bit bigger, actually. The Chinese have just announced that they have a secret military base in Pakistan. It was on, I watched it on the news. They had a 20-minute special. They're developing the F-1, I forget what the Pakistani is called, I think it's the FJ-17 or whatever, the 50 that they're giving them. They develop them there, and they have a top-secret Chinese facility. They sent a reporter there to report from the facility, and it's about, I'm looking at the map now, it's in Kamra, Pakistan. It's about 30 or 40 miles west of Islamabad, and probably about 60 miles from Abbottabad.
Stay there. Stay there, Tom. Let's talk about why this is so important. Then Robert, Tariq, Heath, Paul, Michael, Tim, John, Brian, and others. Toll-free number to join us, 877-789-ALEX. The websites are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.tv. I'm going to take calls for 2 more segments. Then Aaron Dykes, our great reporter, will be in studio with the latest flip-flopping. Was that flip-flop number 15 or something on the bin Laden Easter Bunny story? Pakistan has given China, according to Chinese news sources we pulled up during the break, the port of Gwadar to, I guess, move nuclear subs in. And there's talk of building a Chinese military base in Pakistan. I know last week the president of Pakistan met with Chinese leaders openly saying, please protect us from a U.S. or NATO attack, so I can confirm that. But finishing up with Tom in Minnesota. Tom, give us the Chinese news source so we can go look this up, because if they do have a secret base to service and work with those FG-17s, I know they just gave them 50 more, that is some news. Tell me what Chinese news source that was.
That's coming right out of CCTV, which is Chinese Central Television. When I get off the line, I can actually, it's a long web address. I've got the video. They have a reporter there who shoots video inside the secret base. They say it's been a secret base for 20 years. And
is the headline in English?
There. What's that?
Is the headline in English?
Negative. It's in Chinese, but the interviews with the Pakistani Air Force officers are in English. So they interviewed the Air Force officers there, and
yeah, do me a favor. You just can't give me the headline because I can't put it in Mandarin or whatever
right.
it is. Why don't you email it to Aaron with 2 A's, Aaron@Infowars.com.
Okay, yeah,
because he's here right now. He's doing the weekend updating on Infowars right now, Infowars.com. So we'll get that. Obviously, geopolitically, what does this signify for you?
Well, I think the Chinese are basically putting it out there as kind of a warning. I'm really not sure because some strange things have been happening. Admiral Mullen, the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, just went to China, and nothing's been said in the U.S. papers. But again, on Chinese news, they had a video talking about the U.S. has agreed to open up 4 military bases to the Chinese within the United States. The agreement's not completely finalized. They picked the 4 bases. They don't know if it's going to be...
All right, let me stop you. That's even bigger news. Please send it immediately to Aaron. But you know what's crazy? The Washington Times reported last week, and we covered this with Dr. Pachenik, that General Motors, government-owned and controlled, with government money, spent masses of U.S. taxpayer money to produce 80 years of Chinese communism. That's the decades before they even successfully took over China, the biggest mass murderers in history, and that our own government is financing a pro-communist history of Chinese communism TV program for the U.S. and China. And so I have no doubt now, but that is still big news. You're saying that a Chinese military base is here in the U.S.?
No. What they've done is they've agreed to open up 4 of our bases, which are Fort Stewart, Georgia, Needles Air Force Base, which is where we have our drone program.
Oh, to let them look at them.
Yep, NTC, the National Training Center in Fort Irwin, California, and the 4th one is the Naval Base at Norfolk, Virginia. Okay,
well, the reason I said, wow, they gave them a base, they gave them in 1996, the Long Beach Naval Base, one of only 2 true deep-water ports there, gave that to the Communist Chinese who then run the Port Authority. Just unbelievable treason to our national security. But, hey, the good old boys don't care. They just want you to take your hat off during the Star-Spangled Banner. I appreciate your call. In fact, here are 2 articles talking about one of the bases. Here's the Wall Street Journal. This came out May 22nd today. Pakistan says China to operate key port and to run it as a military base with the nuclear submarines. And here's another one out of Reuters saying the same thing. And here's another report. So I've got 3 reports on that for you. Okay, spent a lot of time on that, but it's important. Tariq in Georgia, you're on the air. Welcome. Hey, buddy.
Hey, I just want to talk about Fukushima and the lack of knowledge of people my age. I'm 33, and I was talking to people about it in class, and they had, when I said it was 10 times worse than Chernobyl, they had no idea what Chernobyl was or that there was a Russian Civil War back in the early 90s. It's ridiculous. It's crazy how much people are just dumbed down to the point. I mean, these people my age or older live through this. And,
expand on that.
What I'm saying, I was trying to compare Fukushima being 10 times worse than Chernobyl. They didn't even know what Chernobyl was.
yourselves, what are you doing in this time of great challenge? What are you doing to unlock minds?